What is up, my fellow gamers? In today's video, we are going over the best way to distribute your stat points in Solo Leveling Arise. Like I said, for more amazing mobile game content, we are almost at 18,000 subscribers. Thank you guys and girls so much. Now, you want to be careful with how you distribute your stat points, because if you want to reset, it gets extremely expensive with gold. And depending on how early on you are playing this game, you're going to find out quickly that gold is a huge problem. And you can never have enough gold. What a lot of people are recommending is strength, agility, and perception. Everyone's saying, forget about vitality, forget about intelligence, don't even think about those. I've kind of run into a problem slightly with this, which is why I'm kind of challenging this idea that everyone's kind of throwing around the community and everyone's saying this. I'm starting to lean more towards intelligence as being something that's actually important. And it has to really do with the fact that I just pulled my first SSR weapon this morning. So we got the Grimmer right here. And if we take a look, the MP consumption on this thing is insane. I mean, it's 200 points of MP consumed every time I use it. Comparing that to like SR is only 150 and then an R is only 100. I've gotten to the point now where I'm constantly seeing my MP bar all the way extremely low. And I'm like, I don't have enough MP, but like all my skills are like refreshed and I could use them, but I'm running into an MP problem. So this is something that I think you shouldn't necessarily neglect. So I just want to point that out. I think I'm going to start dumping points into intelligence. The main one though, out of all of these is going to be perception. I definitely think perception is going to be the most important one. What it does is it increases your minimum damage that is being dealt to enemies. So the best way to look at it is strength kind of dictates your basic attack damage, right? And then think of perception as kind of increasing that minimum amount. If you dump all of your points into strength and your perception is really low, it means you're gonna have like this huge gap when it comes to doing damage. So an example would be like you could do damage from like 25 all the way up to like 200 because your perception is so low. You have such a drastic difference in your amount of damage that you could do. Whereas if you go ahead and you level up that perception and you get it up a lot higher, it's going to really reduce it so that instead of it being like 25 out of 150, you now are doing like 75 out of 150 or 100 out of 150. So perception is an extremely important stat. How many points to put into it? The trick that I've been using is going off of the percentage. So if we go in the top right corner on the hourglass icon, it's going to show us a breakdown of all of our stats. Now, next to our precision, we're going to see a number, and then we're also going to see a percentage. My personal recommendation has been keeping percentage between 90% and 95%. I feel like anything below 90% isn't high enough, and anything above 95% is kind of overkill. I've seen some people suggest 85%, but I feel like 85 is just a little too low. Me personally, I think 90% should be the lowest. As far as the second most important, it's going to be between strength and agility. I would favor strength first because this basically just determines your overall like attack damage, right? And then your agility is going to be your crit hit and your crit damage as well. If we take a look right here where it says crit hit, the chance to inflict a critical hit damage, the required stat value increases depending on the target's level. So this is an important thing that you need to take into consideration, because if you really lag behind with your critical hit rate, that means that if you're facing stronger enemies when you get into those harder stages, you're pretty much never going to trigger a crit hit. I mean, it's never going to happen. The way that the stat is performed in the game, it's not like traditional, like, oh, we constantly have like a 16% chance no matter what enemy we're facing, because the enemies have like crit resistance. So if your crit hit rate isn't high enough, the enemies that are stronger are always going to resist the chance for you to trigger one of those crit hits. So you really got to keep this kind of in touch with your attack almost at a 1-to-1 ratio, or at least pretty close to like strength and agility. Mine is a little bit down right now. Mine is only at 52. So my next level up, probably my next like level or 2 levels, I'm going to be dumping more points into my agility. But also the MP, like I said, is something that I feel needs to have some points in it. I know people are saying not to put points into it, but I'm starting to really see a difference with my MP. And the other thing is cooldown decreases, which I'm surprised that people aren't like mentioning. That is the fact that as you increase your intelligence, you're reducing your cooldown as well, so you can spam your skills more. So it almost feels like, you know, wouldn't you want to spam your skills more? You deal more damage than opposed to just going this route of strength, agility, and perception. I do understand that. I feel like these are probably the 3 main ones. However, I feel like intelligence, I don't know. I feel like intelligence, there could be a really good intelligence build that I want to kind of experiment with and maybe dump a whole bunch of points into that and see what other things I can kind of do. As far as vitality, I think vitality is the worst one, and vitality is definitely not needed. I wouldn't really put any points into vitality. It's going to increase your HP and defense. And at that point, it's better to just kind of do more damage, specifically because all of the levels are like time based. So if your survivability is really high, it doesn't matter if you're not putting out enough damage, because you're never going to beat the clock. That's the only downside to it, is a lot of these levels, pretty much almost all the levels, they have a clock going. And if you can't destroy all the enemies within, you know, 2 minutes or 30 seconds or whatever the clock is, then you still fail, right? So even if you survive, you can still fail because you didn't put enough damage out. So vitality is a big pass. You don't need to worry about that at all. That is it. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this video. Stay happy, stay safe. I'll see y'all later. Peace.